Food bloggers, hey, welcome to Eat Blog Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in today. You are listening to episode number 348, and it's just going to be you and me today. It has been a really long time since I recorded an episode without a guest, so this feels both strange and also mostly just really exciting. In this episode, we're going to dig into a few case studies that my team has been working on for the past few months. You will hear from a few bloggers, my favorite bloggers, who have been seeing massive growth and transformations in their businesses and in their lives after investing in the Eat Blog Talk Mastermind program. These bloggers are all members inside the EBT Mastermind program currently, and I adore all of them. Most of all, though, I'm just so excited to watch their explosive growth and successes as time has gone on, and I can't wait to share about it with all of you. Before we get into their stories, let's chat about what's been going on at Eat Blog Talk for just a few minutes, since it's been so long since we chatted, you and me. Earlier in 2022, I made a conscious decision to focus on the few things that were working really well here at Eat Blog Talk. And those things are the podcast, the mastermind program, and the in-person retreats. These three parts of the business have become my sole priorities, and having that laser focus has really paid off, not just for me and my business, but for the people that I'm serving. The podcast has been growing exponentially thanks to all of you loyal listeners for tuning in regularly. Thank you so much for doing this. Stay tuned for more amazing episodes to come. We have some really great guests lined up to finish off the year and going into 2023. Don't forget to share the podcast with friends who would benefit from hearing the episodes, whether they're food bloggers or entrepreneurs or just people looking to expand their mindset. Also, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. That adds so much value to Eat Blog Talk. You may have seen my Instagram Reels and or TikTok videos about recent in-person retreats I've hosted and that have also just been wild successes and so much fun. I always knew that intimate in-person events were where the magic was at, but I really had no idea just how amazing these retreats would be until I experienced them. So whether you've never been to a retreat before, or if you have been to one or two and just want to experience another one, come join us. I just announced the next retreat dates, and you can find all of the information and fill out an application at eatblogtalk.com/retreat. And perhaps my favorite part of my job, if you even want to call it a job, I love my job so much, is the mastermind experience that has evolved into absolute magic for both me and my members. And that is what we are going to focus on today. I'm going to take you through a few bloggers' journeys within the group, from what their pain points were that caused them to invest and take the leap into joining the mastermind program, to what results and successes they have found. And some of them even have advice for you if you are on the fence about joining. And they are just here to encourage you to take the leap if you're in the right place for it and if it sounds like a really good fit for you and your business. It's one thing for me to get behind a microphone and talk to you about how awesome everything is that I'm doing. Of course, I'm going to say that, right? Because it's my business, it's my creation. But to hear other people talk about how positive of an experience it is being in the mastermind program, I think that's a whole different story. So I really hope that you are encouraged by what these bloggers are going to say. And as always, please reach out to me if you have any questions at all. I will preemptively tell you if you want to apply to be a part of the 2023 Mastermind program, you should apply now because I am going to raise the prices toward the end of this year. So get in now at this current pricing. For more information about the whole group experience and to apply, go to eatblogtalk.com/mastermind. The first case study here that we will highlight is Kim from kickassbaker.com. She is amazing. You should go check out her Instagram feed. It is top notch. You will just be blown away by her content there, and her website's gorgeous too. Here is what Kim says about deciding on the mastermind program, that it was a good fit in the first place. And then also she talks through some of her reservations or what was holding her back that she eventually just overcame and decided to take the leap anyway.
So a bunch of friends said that they had heard good things. I really like Megan's podcast. And I started to listen to it much more and realized, I really liked her. I really liked her approach. I really liked her guests. I liked the value of the content that she provided because it was very tangible. And then after talking to her, I was sold. She's great to interact with. I liked the size of the group. My reservation was the cost, of course. I mean, it's an investment. And so I just had to think about if it was something that I was willing to do. I did have reservations about like the level of expertise of the other group members. Like I wasn't sure because I hadn't met them. Would they be way too experienced for me? Would I be much more experienced than them? Would we get along? Like, would they be transparent? Would they be willing to share? So those things I'm always sort of cautious about. And, that all went away after the first meeting. But yeah, I think that the cost was probably the biggest thing for me. But I'm a big believer in, investing in myself and investing in things that are going to grow my business. And it's been so worthwhile in terms of a return on investment and a good use of my money to grow.
One of my absolute favorite parts of the mastermind is watching members set goals and then achieve them even faster than they thought possible. That is not just a cheesy line I use on the landing page. It is true. When you set a goal and have this accountability that is so involved and immersive, like we do in the mastermind program, you achieve your goals really fast. So Kim is going to talk through one of the goals she set when she started the mastermind program and how she achieved it way more quickly than she anticipated.
I had set the goal of being qualified for AdThrive for the end of this year. And I qualified in June, which is only halfway through the year. And I'm in now. So I'm going through my first full month with them. And so that for me was like a huge win, just to be able to not to just qualify and get into the ad network, but just to have reached that milestone that I set for myself, and that it's directly related to my overall goal, which is to increase traffic. That, the only reason I got in there is because I met the traffic goal. I exceeded the traffic goal actually, and have been able to maintain that. So that was a really great achievement for me.
Can I just mention that it is really fun to hear my mastermind members talk about the mastermind group so positively. I did not conduct these interviews, so it has been really fun to listen to this audio and to hear all of the things that come out of their mouths that are so positive, and it almost makes me tear up. But here is another awesome answer from Kim when she was asked what about the mastermind groups surprised her.
And I think just that transparency and willingness to be open and sharing for the pure benefit of somebody else's success has been a big surprise to me. I know like for me, that's a big part of like who I am too, is I'm very much interested in helping other people succeed. But, selfishly, like I'm in this for me too. That's why I joined. But it's been like very equal, like there's just a very equal amount of giving and taking, sharing and sharing and sharing for others' success. And so I shouldn't be surprised by it, but I guess I am, that just other people are so willing to share what has worked for them purely to help other people succeed. The second thing, that I've developed such good friendships with people. So I'm a big connector. Like I love one-on-one relationships and very small groups. Like I'm not good in a big group. I don't really I'm much better one-on-one. I really like to get to know people, for the most part, people that I want to get to know. And so I've really developed some great friendships. Like Megan and I actually went to visit Monica in New Mexico like stayed at her house for a few days. Like, it's just been so nice to be able to develop these like deep relationships with people who are from all over the country and from all different backgrounds. And, have this one thing in common, but have developed these relationships that will last much longer than the membership in the mastermind. I'm thrilled about that because it's so meaningful to me, the relationships, more so than these, the helpful tips and tricks, which, wow, that's very important too. Like the relationships are what will stay with me. So it's been a big, nice surprise.
Here is the last little bit from Kim. She is giving you some encouragement about why you might want to consider joining the mastermind. So here are her final words.
It's more than just the mastermind that you get. I mean, the relationships are important, but the expert calls, the connections to other resources, this group is well connected to technical support teams and, Foodie Digital and they have recommendations for people to go to and people not to go to and based on their own experience. And so I think those aspects, there's also the podcast. Several members of our group have been on the podcast. I have to have my application open that I need to apply. Like, to be able to participate in things and sort of have this be a starting point for so many other aspects of blogging has been really helpful too. Megan also she has another mastermind, so we joined together. We've joined together twice now. So that's also been great, to meet other group of bloggers and hear what's been successful with them. I've connected with a couple of them individually because of things I heard them say, and I reached out and we now have a connection. And so there's just so much more than just the weekly calls that are really helpful. They have Megan has the in-person retreats. So there's like so many there's a whole like portfolio of activities that you can take a part in. It's not just the mastermind that you get.
This next case study is with Carrie from Talking Meals. She is amazing. And just hearing her talk in this next little bit, you're going to fall in love with her. She's one of my favorite bloggers ever. There's a really cool success story about Carrie that I am going to share at the end of her case study here. It's like a PS, the success that happened after the case study was recorded. So I'll share about that in a little bit. For now, here is Carrie talking about what prompted her to look into the mastermind and sign up for it, and how she got over that investment worry.
When the stars kind of aligned for me, I was at this low. I just had zero motivation. I really didn't want to give up, but I didn't know how to go forward either. And I didn't know what to do to help me to focus on the right things. And at that time, the doors of her mastermind were open and I heard about it. And I had no idea how much it cost. But it was enough. It was like that moment that I was willing to ask for help. And I think, for whatever reason at that moment, I was just feeling low enough that I needed help and I was willing to ask. And then, I don't know, just something about Megan and, just the belief that being part of this group was going to help me was what got me over the money hump in terms of investing to join the mastermind.
Here's Carrie talking a little bit about what her goals were. She had very specific traffic goals that she wanted to achieve, and she knew that the mastermind could help her. So she talks a little bit about that here.
Even though you hear bits and pieces all over the place in the communities, on podcasts, it was too big for me. And so my primary objective in coming into this was just to have these other bloggers help and guide me to focus on the right things, specifically as a starting point with search engine optimization and how to, improve my blog posts so that I was being seen by Google. But the actual like numbers goal for me was like doubling my traffic, which was huge and feels so, utterly unattainable. But now I start to see through setting my goals with Megan and then working with the others in the group. It's so clear the things that I was doing wrong and the things that need fixing, that within like a couple sessions of the mastermind, I feel like I learned more than I would have in an entire year. You can only glean so many insights from hearing about it from other bloggers. So yeah, I mean, I felt like I did as much as I could on my own, and I could have kept doing it, but that's why I say that I learned more in just a couple sessions than I would have in a year, because I was kind of just spinning my wheels.
Fast forward about 8 or 9 months after this was recorded, and I can tell you that Carrie has surpassed her goal of doubling her traffic, and she has actually tripled her traffic. So excited for her. I'm smiling from ear to ear. Okay, now Carrie talks a little bit about the investment piece of it and how it was really hard for her to get past that mental hurdle of, I have to invest money in my business in order to grow. So she talks a little bit about that here.
I'm frugal by nature. And so, I'd spent my whole career working with a nice, healthy salary for a big corporation. And so I felt very independent and like I was contributing to my family because I had the salary. And so I was determined to make a profit, but I wasn't thinking, I don't know. I think my thinking was all fuzzy, so to speak. And that, yes, I might've been making a profit, but it was so teensy tiny because I wasn't investing to actually grow the business.
Right.
So I wasn't making enough revenue. And so I was just trying to hold on to every single penny to make a profit, but yet I wasn't growing. And so my revenue wasn't growing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, the cost was a huge thing for me, and I had to just mentally get over that hurdle.
For every mastermind member who comes into the group, I offer a 90-minute goal setting and planning call. And I have found these calls to be so extremely helpful for members. I had no idea when I started doing them how helpful they would be. So Carrie talks a little bit about how helpful her call was and how it structured her first part of the year. And a little teaser, the goal that she talks about in this little snippet actually ended up happening.
Megan spent an hour and a half with me setting some realistic goals and drilling those down into 3-month goals that I can actually action for my business. Mm-hmm. So I'm really excited because having someone else do that with me and getting it in writing validated it. So my business, I have the blog, but then I also have another aspect of my business, which I haven't talked about at all, but I do a meal delivery here. It's my ear on the ground, like really hearing from my customers and talking with people about like what their needs are. But it's eaten up my weekends. It's completely time consuming and has prevented me, I think, in a lot of ways from growing my blog and focusing on it. So I have now put in writing as one of my goals to work my way out of that side of the business by May. And that is just having that goal set now, working with Megan to have that set is just like hugely freeing. So that's been a big change for me.
Carrie has some final words for you guys, a little bit of encouragement to not get hung up on the investment, but instead look at what you are going to get from it. She has some really encouraging words to leave you with, and then we will get to the next case study.
Take the leap. So run the numbers if you have to run the numbers. But the price tag is minimal compared to what you will get back from the group. So, I just would tell people to take the leap because the motivation and the support that I've gotten from the women in the group has been invaluable and has just re-energized me. But run the numbers, because I think if anybody actually took the time to just take the price tag out of their head, but put it on paper and look at when they could get a return on that investment, they would see that it's not such a crazy number. At least if that was their holdback. And if their holdback was just, the fear factor of it, then again, it's that if you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to grow. You have to get uncomfortable. If we stay comfortable, then we're never going to change.
I have to brag about Carrie for just a second here because, like I said earlier, 8 or 9 months have transpired since this was recorded. Since then, not only has she tripled her traffic, but she has also started a second niche blog that is doing so incredibly. I believe she's getting numbers like 10K page views within the first 2 months of launching. Something along those lines. It's something astounding and amazing. She is also starting a new coaching program about food blogger brand positioning. Her expertise lies in marketing and brand positioning. So she's going to be launching that soon. She's doing so many great things. Her business is absolutely taking off. And I am just so excited for her. Okay, next case study. These are two of my favorite bloggers. They are a blogging couple from plantpowercouple.com. I had the honor of meeting them both in person last year at Tastemaker Conference, and they left an impression because they were so kind and they were just oozing with drive and motivation, and they just wanted to crush it. I could tell instantly in their business. Brittany and Terrence are amazing members inside the Eat Blog Talk Mastermind, and here in this clip, they are sharing about how they got to the point where they just knew they needed something more. They talk about their pain point where they were just working really hard, getting burnt out, and just stopped and looked at each other and said, we need something else. We need something to help us. So here's them talking about that.
The growth was stalled and our
getting a little burnout.
Well, because our solution to our stall in our income and our traffic was like, okay, let's just do more.
Work harder, do more, make more content.
Right. So let's just keep throwing posts up and just like putting everything all over social media all the time and do more and more and more. And we weren't bringing on anyone to help us with this. And we were just burnt out and it was still stalled. We were working more than we ever had, burnt out more than we ever were, and we were still stalled.
I have to add this little snippet of audio because, I just love how excited Brittany and Terrence get about their monetary goal. They have a financial goal for their blog to make a certain amount of money. And then they end this little snippet by saying that they think they're going to do it. So I just love this little bit.
My goal has always been for his, by the time he turns 50, which is this October, that we will be making $60K annual. That was always like kind of my target because it was more than we did not have high paying jobs before this. So that was more than either of us had ever brought in a year together. So I knew it would be something that even with taxes and everything, we could cover our expenses and then some, and even like replenish our savings a bit. And I think we're going to hit it this year.
If that isn't awesome enough, listen to this next story that Brittany tells about one of her first ever hot seats. I think it actually was her first hot seat. And a light bulb moment that came from that, and then what has transpired since. So listen to this.
Let me tell you a story. Okay. We were like, what did I write down? Haphazard SEO? Yeah, that's how I would describe our SEO strategy. It was haphazard. I didn't really know what I was doing or if I was doing it correctly. I saw that posts that had been like number one were just falling like off a cliff. My first hot seat, I joined Rank IQ and I actually asked them to like walk me through like how to use it and share my screen on a Zoom call, which was like so helpful. But on the call, someone asked me to open Google Search Console. And this is something I've heard of from everyone. For how long have I been blogging? A long time.
Like dwarves and wood nymphs. It's just kind of, I've heard of them. I've never actually seen it.
But I knew that I did not have it set up because every time I went in there, it got confusing and overwhelming. And I went in and they were like, uh-oh. Like, I feel like the general consensus of everybody was like,
why is it all red?
It was not set up properly. It was all red everywhere. It looked like I got like an F on a test. so bad. And it was such a vulnerable moment for me because you get that imposter syndrome and you're like, see, I'm not who I think I am. I can't actually do this. Like, there's red all over my Google Search Console. And they were like, okay, just like, so it's okay. Send. I remember Kara being like, you have Big Scoots hosting, just send them a support ticket. And like, they gave me very clear because you were a huge part of this, very clear instructions on how to fix it. And then somebody else actually from the group, Jen, jumped on a separate call with me to walk me through the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
And now it's like my best friend. And even you, well, non-living.
Yeah, I know.
But even you know how to use it now. Yeah. Like we use that thing all the time and it has been life-changing.
Isn't that amazing? One call and so much can come from that as far as like totally transforming your business. I love that story and I love it every time Brittany tells it. Okay, so this next little bit, they were posed the question, what has surprised you about the mastermind group? So here is what has surprised Brittany and Terrence in a good way.
We're such good friends. Like maybe we should ask them, but I feel like we're friends. I feel like even when we're on groups with or on calls with different groups or something, like we have these little inside jokes and like we get so much done, but we laugh and really enjoy each other's company during it. Like I'm going to get choked up because the support, just the simple fact of like having people there to support you has been like transformative. Because you do feel so lonely being a blogger. You do feel so isolated sometimes. So like having somebody like who knows your goals be like, hey, I see you're doing this great job. Like even more than the advice, that has been like, I can't even measure how valuable that's been for me personally.
Not only that, but like the similarity of problems. So the ability to say like, oh, wow, you mean we're not alone in this? Oh, you go through that too. Well, how do you fix it? Then you get 3 to 4 different options of how to fix an issue, whether it's like, business related or with regard to like, personal life, burnout, whatever. Yeah.
Oh, and also what surprised me was like, I feel like you go into this only seeing what's wrong with your business. And that's like such a thing about the vacuum too. Like you're only focusing on what is wrong with your business, but then you go into it and you get help with those parts that you think are wrong. But then you also like, it illuminates what's going right.
Yeah.
And like one of our first calls, we talked about Pinterest and I just had completely downplayed everything that we had accomplished on Pinterest in the past like 2 years. Like we went from 6,000 followers to like 45,000. And I was giving people advice that I didn't even know that just like lived inside my head. And those people actually came back to me and said, your advice really helped. Thank you. I'm like, it did? Are you serious? But it just makes you feel like competent. Which is helpful.
Competence is helpful. It's confidence and competence.
Yeah.
Brittany and Terrence have not been in the mastermind program very long. It's only been, I would say, less than 6 months. And very quickly, they saw big results in their business. So they talk a little bit about that here.
We have had July and now looking at August, we're going to have the 2 biggest months we've ever had in terms of income. And last month we got paid from Pinterest Rewards, which is something that this group helped us get into and really helped us focus on. We got a check from them last month that is more than your teacher salary.
A little bit more than my monthly teacher salary. So
from one source of income, which is blowing my mind.
Which is blowing our mind and also not saying much about, again, the education system.
Yeah. And having that group to like celebrate with was huge because otherwise I'd be like, oh, it was a fluke, move on. And then that's how you sabotage your own success. But we had this group to go to and say, hey, this is what we did. And just their support. And
that is a great thing about the group. They don't let you sabotage your own success. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be like, do you realize how great this is? I'm like, yeah. Because my brain just wants to downplay it and be like, oh, it's just fleeting.
Brittany and Terrence, this last little bit almost made me cry. I'm not going to lie. But here is Brittany and Terrence telling you, other food bloggers who are listening, why they believe that this is something that you should really consider, why joining the Eat Blog Talk Mastermind will benefit your business, yes, but also will help your mindset and help your growth as an individual.
If you feel isolated, if you feel like one of the main things, I'm gonna cry. One of the main things that's holding you back in business is like your own struggle with believing in yourself and your own struggle with like believing that you can do this, especially if you've had success and you've been working at it for a while. I think you need to do it. I think it's the biggest thing that can change the trajectory of your business.
And your mindset.
Yeah. Like it's not just, yes, you learn these things, but you gain a sense of community and support and just like accountability, and you start to believe in yourself more, and you start to be able to like borrow these other people's belief in yourself so that you can build yourself up while you're getting there. And I've my whole attitude has changed. And when we get off these calls, I feel invigorated. I feel excited to get back to work. I feel like I'm not in it alone. And I don't know if I could have kept going if I didn't have that.
Yeah.
We just love it. We love it so much. I would sit here and talk to you about it for hours on end if I didn't see a timer going.
Yeah.
But
and again, it's nice. Like if I come across something that I don't understand and she's busy or can't explain or, doesn't want to, I can throw that question into the group and again, get a bunch of responses and a lot of information. So it's like having that at your fingertips at all times. And that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Next, you get to hear from one of my favorite food bloggers and a good friend, Barbara. She is from the blog Butter and Baggage. And in this clip, she talks about what prompted her to seek out the mastermind, what problems she was having in her blogging business, and I'll let her take it from here.
I kind of needed just some direction on what to work on my side, because there was a ton of recipes on there, and a lot of them just like kind of weren't consistent with what my brand was, but it was just like I was just throwing everything up there. So it was just I was just kind of all over the place.
Now, Barbara talks about some of her hesitations about coming into the group and how all of that was diminished once she was in.
I was a little nervous because I'm like, oh, is everyone going to know more than I do? And I'm not going to have anything to contribute. But I didn't find it. So I was nervous about it. Just because I'd never been in any groups, and I went to the Everything conference, and everyone was talking about things that I just felt intimidated that I didn't know. I didn't even know what the words were that they were talking about or how to, they were doing all this stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that. So I think there was that fear that, I'm not a big enough blogger for this group, or I don't know anything. I don't have anything to share. And then I got joined this one with Megan, and everyone was just so supportive, and it was just positive. And it didn't matter if you had, 10,000 or 100,000 views or followers or whatever. Everyone was just willing to help everyone out. And it was such a positive thing. And I just love being able to, I could actually contribute and help people and give them advice and support each other. And it was just night and day. I just realized, okay, you have to decide who you're going to be around and who the people that are going to be around you. Everyone that Megan brings in seems to be the same positive, encouraging. Doesn't matter where you are in your blogging journey. Doesn't matter what kind of questions you ask. Like one of my hot seats, I'm like, okay, I just have like all these little questions about like, how do you do this on Google Analytics, and which button do you push here? And it was just like my hot seat was just all these little questions that like, I know I could figure this out. It would take me like 2 hours to go on YouTube or whatever and figure this out. But I bet someone in this group has done it before and they can do it. And it's like no question. It doesn't matter what the question is. It's not a stupid question. And everyone is very supportive.
Here are a few of Barbara's favorite things about being in the group, some things that she has gotten out of it.
I think it's kind of, just like in the hot seats when you've got some idea or something that you're running people by the group, and they just kind of give you ideas that you wouldn't have thought of. Mm-hmm. Megan early on, I can't remember if it was in our coaching or in this, but she kind of just pushed me to try to get a photography, try to reach out to a restaurant because I knew the owner and I was talking about it. And she said, well, just reach out and see if you can do the photography. And it was just such a scary thing for me because I have never done photography anyplace but in my house. And the thought of going to a restaurant and taking photos for them was just like, oh, I can't do that. And but I happened to run into this guy. I'm like, oh, I'd love to take some photos for you. He goes, oh, okay. And so I did. I've done like 3 shoots for them, and it is so much fun. I love it. I never knew that I would have loved that. But so she hadn't pushed me to try it, then I wouldn't have tried something that it's like my favorite thing to do now. So I think that's what I get out of it. They come and, just like brainstorming ideas, they're trying to help me come up with this last time, some clusters, some things that I could do some content creation around. And they just had some great ideas that I wouldn't even thought of. Like, my blog is Butter and Baggage, but I have no posts on butter. And they're like, you need to have a post on butter, or like how to soften butter. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So much sense, but I just hadn't thought to do that. So I think you just keep other people's perspectives instead of, you just looking at your stuff all the time.
Yes.
When someone else looks at it, they look at it with a different set of eyes. And, and I did I hadn't really done very many roundups. So I did a roundup post and I sent it out to them and they're like, oh, well, I would try maybe this or add this. So just getting some feedback on it. Was just really helpful.
I love Barbara's response. Next, you will hear about making the investment and acknowledging that it is a big investment in your business, but she also touches on why it's such an important investment to make in your business.
If you're really committed to making this a business, you've got to invest in yourself. And I think this is the best way to invest in yourself. And it does seem like a lot of money. And, then it is a lot of money. It's a lot of money to pay to, and you're like, what are you paying? What are you getting? You're not getting an asset or anything. So it's hard to put a value on what you're getting. But in this type of business, just having the resource of these people that can give you advice and can help you along that journey is, I just think, more valuable than any other investment you can make. We get those expert, what do they call them? The expert sessions where we get to talk to them, just one-on-one. There's just, 4 or 5 of us talking to them. And then, so we get to pick their brain. And so it's not just the camaraderie and the advice and help from other people in our group.
This is something that we haven't touched on a whole lot yet in this episode, but Barbara talks about the diversity within the groups and how people come in with totally different perspectives, totally different personalities, and how that benefits the group as a whole. I think that
what's kind of nice about this group is that none of us are the same. Like there's like everyone's blog is very different, and all of us as people are very different. So and like one person comes from a marketing background, and so her questions are just questions that I would never even think to ask. So when someone's on the hot seat, she will ask them questions. I'm like, oh wow, what a great thing to ask. Mm-hmm. So I think everyone kind of has that particular skill that they brought in, their life skill, whatever that happens to be.
Yeah, their background from whatever else they've done.
Yeah, and so it just makes those discussions. It's not just like you're peppered with questions when you're in the hot seat. The kind of questions that you're peppered with are just completely different. So she might, I know that I just, she's kind of one of the newer persons in the group, Carrie, who comes from a marketing background. And I'm just amazed at the questions that she asks. And they're just the perfect question that should be asked that I hadn't even thought about asking. So I think everyone's background contributes to just this diversity. And I guess that's a good word for it. Everyone is different, but when you have such a diverse group, then it just brings different perspectives.
That is a wrap for hearing these bloggers talk to you about the amazingness that they found inside the Eat Blog Talk Mastermind groups. I know I sound like a broken record, constantly getting behind the microphone and telling you how awesome they are from my perspective. So hopefully it's a little bit refreshing and enlightening to hear from actual member perspectives. If you have any additional questions or reservations that you want to talk through before committing to joining the Mastermind program for 2023, please reach out to me. I have so many members who are willing to talk to people like you to just talk through exactly what you've heard in this episode. If this interests you, if you want to make big transformations in your business and in your life in 2023, get on the waitlist pronto because I am limiting the number of spots that will be opening up in 2023. I'm doing this because groups of 10-ish are ideal. We've found for these calls. 2 groups of 10 will be what we're going to be setting into motion in 2023. Now, at the time you're listening to this, it will be about mid-October. So you have a month-ish to get in on the current pricing. I am going to be raising the prices because the value is so immense. The pricing that we're at now is a really great value for what you are going to get and what you are going to achieve in 2023. So get in while it's hot. Go to eatblogtalk.com/mastermind. You can read through more details on that page. Click the button link to go to the form where you can apply. And from there, I will get back to you and let you know if based on your answers, you're a great fit, if I think you'll be a great fit, and then we can schedule a call. I'm so excited for 2023 and to just watch so many of you take off with your businesses. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. I love you guys. I'll catch you next time.